Lesson on inequalities in this module. We're going to learn to graph the solutions of our inequalities as well. This lesson begins with a sprint activity in class on solving equations and then inequalities. And then we look at exercise 1. Two identical cars need to fit into a small garage. The opening is 23 feet 6 inches wide, and there must be at least 3 feet 6 inches of clearance between the cars and between the edges of the garage. We need to know how wide can the cars be. So we're looking at two cars and in between the cars there must be at least 3 feet 6 inches and there must be at least 3 feet 6 inches on either side. We're looking for how wide the cars can be, and we know that the entire opening is 23 feet 6 inches. So when we create our inequality, and there are a number of things that you may choose to do. You may choose to actually solve it arithmetically with just numbers. But if you draw the picture, we should be in better shape. What we're saying is 3 measurements of 3 feet 6 inches and 2 car measurements, and that's the thing we're looking for, need to be less than or equal to 23 feet 6 inches. In order for us to actually do the problem, we're going to have these measurements in 1 unit only. So we can turn that into, these are all 6 inches, which is half of a foot. So my preference would be 3 feet, or 3 1/2 feet. 3 times 3 1/2 plus 2c, which is the width of the car, needs to be less than or equal to 23 1/2 feet. And then once we have the setup, solving it isn't too difficult. Three times 3 1/2 is 10 1/2 plus 2c will need to be less than or equal to 23 1/2. And of course then we'll subtract 10 1/2 from both sides. Which will give us 13. And then dividing by 2, we would find that each car has to be 6 1/2 feet or less in width. Example 1. A local car dealership is trying to sell all of the cars that are on the lot. It currently has 525 cars on the lot, and the general manager estimates that they will consistently sell 50 cars per week. So we want to know how many weeks it will take for the number of cars on the lot to be less than 75. And we'll have to write an inequality that can be used to find the number of W full weeks. And when W is equal to 1, it means at the end of week 1. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is write the inequality. And our inequality should be 525, that's the total number of cars, minus 50 times the number of weeks. And we want to know when that is going to be less than 75. So we'll solve that inequality first. And we'll have negative 50W is less than negative 450. And then, of course, we will divide by negative 50 on both sides. And because we're dividing by a negative number, we'll need to reverse the sign. And that will tell us that it will need to be more than 9 weeks. Now, the next thing we need to do is we're actually going to graph this on a number line. So we're starting with a number line that includes 9 in it because we definitely need the number that we ended up with. And I included some numbers, some integers before and after 9. To graph this inequality, we're going to put a point on 9. And this point is going to be an open circle. The reason it's going to be an open circle is our solution says W needs to be greater than 9. That means that W cannot be 9. It doesn't include 9. But it could be anything over 9. So we put an open circle on 9. An open circle on 9, meaning that it does not include 9, but anything over 9 it will include. And then we'll draw a ray to the right to show that any number greater than 9 will be a part of the solution set for this inequality. Interpreting the solution, we would say, we can say the dealership can sell 50 cars or more per week, from 50 cars per week for more than 9 weeks to have less than 75 cars remaining on the lot. And we need to make sure that when we are answering these questions that we are specific in our answers, not just a number. So in exercise 2, we'll have a little more practice. Cost of renting a car is $25 per day, plus a one-time fee of $75.50 for insurance. How many days can the car be rented if the total cost is to be no more than $525? So our inequality then is 25D plus a one-time fee of $75.50. And we need that to be less than or equal to, no more than means less than or equal to, 525. And then to solve, we would subtract 75.50 on both sides. And that will give us 449.50. We'll divide by 25 on both. And find the D should be less than or equal to 1798. Then we'll need to graph it. So we have our number line, and it says that D has to be less than or equal to 1798. 1798 is approximately right before 18. And in this case, because it includes 1798, we will darken in our point. So our end point is colored in because it is less than or equal to. The or equal to part requires you to fill it in. And then we'll add the ray, extending to the left this time, because it is less than or equal to. Finally, we need to interpret our solution in the context of the problem. And the solution is the car can be rented. So the car can be rented for 17 days or less to stay within the $525 amount. And the reasoning behind that is that the rental of the car is per day. They don't do partial days. And since it doesn't go all the way to 18 days, we have to go back to 17. For that reason, we would put an open dot on 1798 because it doesn't include that since we are talking about whole days only. But normally we would color in that point.